Alright everyone, welcome back. We are ready to work on item 5 on our final project, and we are looking at this sheet index over here. We created a pretty complicated sheet index back in chapter 14, and we're going to be repeating that process just a little bit, though we have to look at one additional topic that we haven't looked at before. There is a limitation inside of Revit for schedules, and that's what this sheet index is a schedule. And schedules must be placed directly onto paper space on a drawing sheet. And I would like, as a drafting user, to have this text box border around that sheet index. And I'd like them to behave as one item. And so we're going to cover that. So with that said, let's get started and make that happen. Okay, so we are looking at Revit, and inside of Revit, to get this schedule, we're going to be using the View tab to start with. So I'm going to create this sheet index, and it's up here with View, alternate arrow by schedule, and create a sheet list. I want you to notice that this sheet list is actually just kind of a subcategory of general schedules. So it's kind of a specific type of schedule. So I'll click that, and my dialog box is asking me what are the items that I want to push into this schedule. And so we're going to create a pretty basic one. We're going to start with sheet number and push that over to the right, and use sheet name and push it to the right as well. And so I have number first, name second, and that's how they will appear in my schedule. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to end up working in this schedule here in a minute. And notice I just have sheet number, sheet name, and the title is sheet list, and I only have one sheet right now in my project. So just as we did in the other schedule back in chapter 14, I'm going to add 2 additional columns. And the first thing I'm going to do is create those. So I'm going to project parameter, type this out as, let's say, group. I think I've got different types than I did before, but I'll use the term group. And I want it to be text. Everything else is okay. And then I'm going to add an additional one, and I'll call this one sheet. And I want that to be text as well. Click OK, and I'll have those 2 additional columns in my schedule. So now I've got 4 columns: sheet number, sheet name, group, and sheet. So now I'm going to add a row. And my row shows up as an unnamed drawing sheet. Alright, so I'm going to create some filtering and some formatting over here. So I'll start with fields. I'm in my dialog box. I have fields, filter, sorting, formatting, and appearance. So I'm going to want to filter these, and first thing I want to filter by is group, and the second thing I want to filter by is sheet. Sorry, I don't want to filter. I don't need to filter these. Yeah, so no filtering. I want to sort them by group and then by sheet. And I want to insert a line after a group, so to speak. Okay, so now I want this A102 to be group 0. And I want this plan view to be group 1. And I can now see that I have A102, a blank line, and then my sheet list. So I'm going to have this be sheet 1, and then I'm going to ignore the sheet index until in the future when I have all my drawings done, and I will come back on the other drawing sheets and add 2, 3, and 4. so that they show up appropriately. So up here under sheet number, I am going to put in architectural, and by the way, just to make it look more like a title, I'm simply putting in spaces between each letter. Let's see, sheet name is unnamed. I think that's okay. Let's see if I can just get everything out of there. Yeah, so it's a blank now. And the last thing I need to do with formatting is, actually I'm going to leave it right the way it is for now. I'm going to leave these 2 columns in. I will hide those at the end. All right, so now I'm going to close this. Under my schedules, if I expand this in the project browser, I can see I have a sheet list, and I am going to drag it over and drop it somewhere over here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit and clearly see that the formatting here doesn't make any sense. I want everything to show up just on one line, so I'm going to expand my first column. Let's see, how about even expanding my sheet names? I'm going to expand it all the way over here to just a little bit outside of my title block. And so I've got my sheet index on there. So I have borders showing. I'm going to go back and edit my sheet list and see what it takes to turn those borders off. So I'm going to look at formatting, see if that's where it's at. How about appearance? And I have grid lines as thin lines, so I'm going to take those off. Boy, I'm not sure. Let me come back and take a look at the view. And there we go. Now, group and sheet are still a problem, but later I can come back once I have this all done and all of the sheets are on here and I'm happy with it. I can, if we remember from chapter 14, then I can hide columns group and hide column sheet. Okay, so I have that, but I don't have this text box. So one more time, and it's a bit of a rant here. Revit does not allow me to place this sheet list or any schedule onto a separate drafting view where I could combine this text box and this sheet index. So I'm going to have to create a drafting view that has nothing on it but the note box. I will then put that drafting view directly over this sheet index to make it appear as if they're organized together. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'm going to come up here and start a drafting view. I will call this sheet index text box. It's not going to be particularly important. And I want my scale to be 12 inches equals a foot. And once I have this, I'm going to, it's brought up and it's active. I'm now going to annotate and place a detail component. And over here in my properties, I'm going to see what detail components I have. And that's not where my text box is. I think actually, I forgot, it is a symbol. So I'm actually going to place this symbol, and that's where I will find this box note family that I put on Blackboard. And so I'm ready to place that. I click it into place. It looks tiny. Quite frankly, I really don't care. All I have to do is zoom in. And I am going to select it as an object, give it a heading, and I guess I'm going to call this sheet index. I think somehow I hit a wrong key there somewhere. In my heading over here, I want sheet index and it has a title, and I don't know how wide I want it to be or how high. I want to adjust that once I get it onto the drawing sheet. So I have my drafting view over here. If I expand my project browser, I can see it under drafting views, and this is what I want to place on top of the sheet list schedule in my drafting, or in my Sheet A101. So let's do that. I'm going to close this view. My drawing sheet comes up. I'm going to grab this drafting view and I'm going to drag it over and place it over here. And a couple things need to happen right away, of course. One is I don't want a title block to it. And I'd like to have it the same width as the text box above it. So here I need to activate this view and select my text box above to remind me how wide it is. 6 3/8 by 5 5/8 high. I don't care about a consistent height. I just want to make sure mine is 6 3/8 wide. So I'll deactivate the view and come back to now this drafting view, and I need to activate it. Select the text box. My width is 6 3/8, and it looks like I'm going to need, I don't know, how about a 3-inch height? I think I can make that fit. And I'm now going to, since it's already selected, I'm just going to jog it down. And that looks sort of, actually I probably need to be down to around there. That's going to be close. I think I'm going to need 3.5 inches by the time I'm all done with those extra sheets 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I think that looks good. Let me line it up with my title block, deselect it, and deactivate this view. Okay. Notice this sheet list is kind of, this heading is right here, is almost in the way. That's fine with me. I don't actually want to see that heading. So I'm going to double click on the sheet index, and under formatting somewhere, or appearance, I'm going to, I guess it's appearance, I'm going to turn the heading off. So for the title text, I want to see, I don't want to see it. Oh, show title. So I'm going to uncheck show title. I do want to see the headers, and I think actually I would prefer that the text is a little larger. So I'm going to choose 1/8 inch Arial for the headers. And come close this, and I'll take a look at it on the drawing sheet. I can see that I have sheet index. Now my headers are kind of in the way a little bit. I'll jog it down, and looks reasonably lined up. Okay, so how do I combine these two objects into one so that when I'm moving things around, I see them as one object and they behave as one object? Let's do that. So I'm going to select the schedule of sheet index. Then I'm going to press Control and select the box note, and up in Revit I'm going to create a group. So I just click that and then come and give it a, well, that's interesting. Oh, yeah. So let me hit cancel here for a second. Under modify, create an assembly, create a group. It is gonna, looks like it's gonna let me create a group, but it wants to give me an error. The type of group it's gonna create is a detail group, which kind of what I would have expected, because neither of these are .3D model elements. Let me see what this gives me as a result. And so that's all fine. So let's see where this thing shows up. So it looks like I have two different objects still. Okay, so I guess we're going to just close this session and move on. So I will check into that and kind of update us in a different session. Sorry about the confusion there, but hopefully overall this is helpful, and we'll see you in the next session.